Alright hobby friends, today I'm bringing my most complex build to you to date. It's got resin, obnoxious lights and colours all over it, blood, everything. Scratch build, it's a moisture still and slime vat distillery as it were, providing food and nourishment to the Underhive that's hopefully a bit better than cornstarch. Follow on to see how I do it. At this point I've got no plan, just a rough idea of where I want to go with it. I'm just throwing things together, using up bits of scrap. The only real plan that I had was that I needed it to have verticality. A lot of my builds, for some reason, only ever end up being 2 stories, and I wanted this to have at least 3 to 4 stories. I basically kept rearranging things till I was happy with the flow of how I could imagine people moving about this piece of terrain and fighting, etc., and using cover. I know it looks like a hot mess of glue and stuff being stuck together. You're thinking, Ollie, that's going to be terrible. You're going to be seeing it later. Don't worry, I've got some tips and tricks for covering it all up as we go along. Just get that glue gun out there and start punching it on. Get it together. No one cares, honestly. At the end of the day, it's not a golden demon diorama. All we're doing is creating an immersive universe for us and our friends and family to play in. I know I harp on a bit about styrene, but I love it. Styrene rod and checker plate, you can build some amazing things and add some great in-scale detail. Handicraft tips to have for it is you have to have plenty of sprue glue, as I'm here, just making some basic handrails, safety third and all of that. And then for sticking it into the styrene foam here, I just simply get out some PVA glue, jab the ends in it, and then stick it right into that foam. Away you go. Don't stop and think about it, just get it done. Think of rough measurements. Don't measure anything too neatly, yeah? We're all thinking about 1 to 2 inches, and just space it out. For the ladders, I'm just using Lego ladders that I've chopped down, buy some off eBay, they're great. If, like me, you're a bit of a hoarder, a raccoon for trash that you like to keep in your hobby space, this was a new find for me. It came with some furniture I bought from IKEA, obviously, and it's basically cardboard strips that are about 3 to 4 mil thick, and you can even carve them. They're great, nice and stiff. For the roof here, you can see I'm just throwing on some corrugated cardboard, nice and easy, just snip it out. Just always remember to seal it up afterwards, because otherwise it gets a bit flimsy. I just use either PVA and paint, or Mod Podge does a great job of that too. As you can see here, I'm going full send with the hot glue on the hottest setting. Now to seal up, I just use some Mod Podge mixed with a dash of water and some black ink. Now to cover up the crooks and crannies and crevices between the styrene, as it were, I'm just using a combination of Vallejo's ground texture and then also some bog, spackle, wall filler, whatever you call it in your country. No judgments here. Don't forget, using your fingers, water and a brush can give you some great stippling effects with that bog. You can do some amazing things with it. Get into it, it's great fun. Now please excuse the fly killing technique I'm using here for the spray cans. I was using up the last of a few cans. First up though, I used the Dulux granite effect to give some instant texture all over it. And then just came in a few different colors, as you can see, different tones. Pick your own adventure kind of deal. Up and down and Xenophil and all the rest of it, just to basically get myself a nice good base for painting. Now you can see here, it's all nice and tied in together and looking grand. I've always liked this phase. It makes your hodgepodge of scratch builds just come together nicely, and you really can see the vision. For painting, I wanted grimdark colors, but I also want them fluorescent and obnoxious. Starting off with a bunch of fluoro inks that I'm putting on underneath, and then quite simply sponge in over the top with some contrasting colors. If you've never done this before, please, you owe it to yourself. Go wild, be like your kindergarten self again, and just get into it. You'd be surprised how amazingly good it looks after some weathering. I've never done a resin pour before like I've done here, so I decided to try it, risk it all on the nearly finished product. What could possibly go wrong? My thought process when approaching this epoxy pour, that something I of course have never done before, was just to take it easy. I did one layer at a time, like one tube, I was using Gorilla Glue, which is rather expensive, so I'd recommend finding a cheaper alternative. But just doing one lot at a time, letting it cool down, and just at the very top of each layer, I was adding a few drops of fluorescent green and mixing it in. Not too much, because I didn't want it to go opaque. I wanted it to still be kind of like translucent and clear, but enough green to give it that hint of slime, as it were. To finish it off, I put on 2 coats of Ard Coat, just a nice shiny varnish, as it were. For 2 reasons. One, I could do some nice little splodgy features on the top just to add to that. But secondly, I was a bit worried about it remaining kind of tacky and gathering dust. Painting the concrete turned out to be surprisingly easy. Normally it'd start from a completely fresh dark grey base with a few colours streaked across it. But this thing was smeared all over with fluoro paint and what have you, and I just went with it. Just dry brushed up to, we're using some stone blue greys up to a white. Turned out fantastic. Couldn't be happier, saved me a lot of time. Here I've painted up some rats and mushrooms and skulls and stuck them in various orifices and holes about the place, as it were. Add that little bit of the Underhive vibe. And for weathering, I was started to use some rust effects from Dirty Down. For best effect with Dirty Down, I've said it before, but keep it in your pocket or put it in a warm jar of water and let it warm up. And the idea is when you apply it, you want the temperature of the Dirty Down products. I find if they are vastly different, i.e. 10 degrees warmer or 20 degrees warmer than whatever you're applying it to, it makes a big difference. That and using a heat gun, as I am here, to rapidly dry it off, and you seem to get the real good effect from the Dirty Down products. Of course, what's uber important in Dirty Down products as well is then to come back in, I find, with a brush, a stiff brush, because they're water soluble. And once they've gone off, as it were, I go in there and back off the tea staining and smear it about and all of that, and kind of really refine the effect that you get at the end. Just try to keep your brush clean, but not dripping with water while you're doing it, because otherwise you can get a bit of a soapy, bubbly effect that happens and stains in weird ways afterwards. But otherwise, it's honestly really easy to use. Just experiment and you'll find out it does some cracking things. To add some grimdark, dirty griminess, as it were, I cracked out my Necro Sponge, acrylic wash this one. Got a video on how I make it. It's pretty simple. But it's a more greeny wash than a brownie wash. Very easy to use. I didn't completely cover everything with it, though. I was a bit more strategic with it, making a lot of drips and drops all over the place. Adding it here and then adding some water to kind of make it run and then removing it, as it were. Just going around, just not covering everything. However, I did go pretty heavy on the concrete. I tend to find if you don't, the concrete, when you dry brush it, it looks a bit dusty. But otherwise, yeah, just move my way about, dropping it here and there, and then covering it all over, and then letting it dry. You can see really here what I'm talking about. You add it, and then I add some water, as it were, and feather it out to the way I like it, and then you let it dry. It still looks quite dark here, but once the wash is dry, they will tone down quite a bit, as it were. Now, time for some graffiti. I always think graffiti is a great thing to put on these sci-fi things. It adds a real lived-in look and appearance to it. I like to use these acrylic watercolor markers. They're great. I got onto them from Uncle Atom, as it were. They're a Sharpie product. You can buy them pretty cheaply and inexpensively anywhere. The earth tones that I use. With this, I did a lot of themes to do with Red Dwarf. Anyone that was a fan of that back in the day. Smeg, as you can see here. And then I put a few places, Lister's place, and then Rimmer's place, etc., as if they were having a turf fight over the area. But yeah, no real rhyme or reason. Just get into it. I haven't really used yellow much before, and I found out it's actually pretty good. It has really good coverage as far as going over things like this. I also put a little bit of effort into putting paint drips on, which I haven't normally done before. Just these little things, just add a little extra, as it were. Once I was done with the graffiti, I decided to add some posters. Now, posters are easy to get. Just go on Google, type in grimdark, sci-fi, scale, posters, terrain, etc. Any combination of the above, and you'll pop up a bunch of ones that are free to print off. Make sure you're doing, I think it's LaserJet, I think it's the one that doesn't run when you get them wet. And then to apply them, I just basically dunk them in a mix of your either PVA and water or Mod Podge and water, milky mix of that. And then let them soak. It's really important to let them soak for a good bit, like at least 30 seconds. Then pick them up with your tweezers, stick them on, and stipple them on with the brush to get them to conform to the surface of your terrain. It makes it much more convincing rather than you just kind of like glued it on like a kindergarten, as it were. After that, I then came in with some streaking grime, just to make the posters look a bit worn and weathered. But honestly, this is a really simple thing. Adds a lot of character to your builds, and I do it on everything. Something was still missing at this point, so I decided a sign was needed with a light. I used the Light My Bricks light system and threw this together using some styrene. This is another cracking use for those acrylic paint pens, as it were, doing little dibs and dobs on the buttons of a computer screen. It works really well because the paint flows, doesn't dry out on the tip of like a brush, nice and easy to control. And finally, blood. My go-to for blood is generally using a combination of Citadel's Blood for the Blood God, a great technical paint, and Dirty Down's Gore, which is a nice, like, thick, resiny type thing that you get out with two little toothpicks and smear about. Make garlands of gore, as it were. Just remember, whatever you do not stick your nice paintbrush into the Dirty Down Gore. It will be the last thing that you ever do with that paintbrush. For a build that started with no real plan, just an idea, and just bucket loads of junk hot glued together, as it were, I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. Let me know in the comments down below what you'd add to this little corner of the Underhive, as it were. Anyways, as usual, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more, and let me know your thoughts down below.